I hope everybody enjoyed that music during the break there, as always.
I always do.
I was finger drumming towards
rock and roll is
it. Yeah,
what
I was
that
finger
is.
drumming to it and nodding my head. So we are back here on BVarsity Live. Zach Ewing and Trevor Horn with you in the downtown studios at TBC Media, and we are talking with Nick Papagni. His website, thepagmeter.com. Check it out. Rankings all year long in the fall, the winter, and the spring. We just talked some baseball. We are just a couple of weeks now, 2 weeks and 1 day away, in fact, from softball seeding and finding out the brackets there. Let's talk some softball, Nick. And the number one team in everybody's rankings right now is the Stockdale Mustangs. Even though they did lose their first game last weekend to Huntington Beach, as far as the central section is concerned, they are still pretty far and away the favorite.
No question about it. I'm excited to see how. I just don't know. Wouldn't it be great to have Stockdale playing the track and just see how they would do? I know they'd probably lose a few, but I would love to see them get beat up and play all those other Buchanans and Clovises of the world.
Oh, and I think it would be good for Stockdale, too, because the SWL is not a bad league, but it's not the track. And once they get into those playoff semifinals, maybe even the quarterfinals, they're going to be playing teams that are better than what's in their league. And you got to amp up the level pretty quickly, or you can get knocked out, even as a number one seed.
Oh, no question about it, because there are so many good teams in Division I with Central. That Gianna Mancha, I think she's the best pitcher in the Valley, and you got Danielle Lung and Clovis, and who's going to be back? Who's going to be the 2, 3, 4, and 5 with Buchanan, Molly Millars? I mean, there are so many good pitching now. Clovis North, who just knocked off Central. It's going to be fun. Clovis North has got to be the youngest team in the Valley, and they beat Central. That's a big win.
Yeah.
And then you put Hanford West in there as well. I mean,
they're the wild card.
It's so deep.
It really is. Hanford West, another team, is going to walk away with the WYL. They'll probably – right now I have them in the 2 seed. I got Clovis the 3 seed, Central 4, Buchanan 5, and then Bullard has knocked off everybody. And they'll probably win the CMAX, so they'll be the 6th seed.
And they far and away have the strongest strength of schedule of anybody in Division I. Bullard Knights do. So it'll be really interesting. Even though they're floating around 500, I mean, it pays dividends when you play up throughout the year.
The softball finals.
And they don't have plus they don't have a home game because their field's being redone, so everything is on the road. That's even a better story.
The softball finals are back at Fresno State the weekend before the baseball finals, so they will
be a cool venue too. I mean,
so is that May 19th and 20th? Is that correct?
Yeah, it was really neat. I hope not.
If that's the case, that's the same as a bunch of other stuff on May the 20th. But it's going to be a tough weekend to get to everything. That particular weekend in Central Section Sports, but the softball finals back at Fresno State in a cool environment there. Now, if you're Stockdale and you're sitting there with a probable number one seed in your back pocket, boy, I hate to have to travel to Fresno to play Central or Clovis or somebody in the championship game, but that's sort of is what it is.
Now, the good news is that though is at least you're playing on a field that nobody's really used to.
That's true.
It's a big field, so that's got to help a little.
Yeah, that's true too. And you know what? At some point, you just say, "Let's go play." Wherever and whenever they tell us to play, and we'll try to prove it. In Division II, Madera's the 2-time defending champ, and they're still a factor. But right now, Nick, you have Monache at number 1 and Redwood at number 2.
Softball and baseball, by the way, before we get into this, softball and baseball are both on the same weekend.
Oh, okay. Both on the 26th and 27th. Okay.
Yeah, so they're not interfering with state swim. They're not interfering with state swimming or Masters track and field.
Oh, that's amazing. So same weekend. Okay, that's good to know. I was asking you guys that. So good. Well, Division II, I got Monache 1. Now, Madera is the back-to-back champs, but their ace transferred to Central. They're not eligible now. It's going to hurt Central. But her ace and her big sister, who's a big home run hitter, they left Madera. They took their chances, and the CIF said, nope, you're ineligible this year. So Monache 1, Redwood 2, Edison 3, Madera 4. That's what I got going in Division II right now.
And Kern County not really a factor in your rankings. I guess Ridgeview at leading the SYL and 16-5 overall would be the leading candidate to be a competitor there. But again, the strength of schedule not the same as some of those teams at the top as far as seeding goes.
Yeah, and you guys help me out. I don't think that when you talk in softball, I don't think the home field advantage it's not the greatest thing. I mean, come on, these girls play all over California, so I don't think it's a big deal compared to baseball.
I think the one aspect in baseball and softball where it helps is simply just having that last bat is an advantage, both mentally and
that's true.
Sort of knowing how many runs you need in the bottom of the last inning if it comes to that.
Well, and I think in baseball, too, it's the mound and understanding the foul territory and different things of that nature, too, kind of factor
Which
in.
is muted in softball, certainly, because the
much
fields
so.
are more cookie
Right.
cutter. But I do think having the last bat, especially in a close game, is a big deal.
And the pitcher is so dominating. It's a little different than softball compared to baseball. But you get someone just on fire. Someone no one's going to touch her. That's the difference in softball if you're on the road.
Agreed.
Division III, we talked about the SYL and Independence and Tehachapi both factor in the SYL along with a team like Hanford and
Taft still there?
Taft. I mean, you can't ignore a team with the pedigree of Taft either.
No, and they can swing the bats. I got the defending champs in Division III. Hanford 1, Independence 2. They just knocked off Tehachapi, so Tehachapi 3. Madera Ranchos played a killer schedule. I got them at 4, Reedley, and then Taft. But I think Division 3 is going to be exciting to watch by the end.
And then in Division 4, well, you've got Wasco, which is now leading Taft, but it's funny to think you'd think a team that's beating Taft in the SSL race would be far and away the favorite in Division 4. That's not the case. It's a pretty deep division, particularly at the top. You've got a Mission Oak, a Dos Palos, a Selma, a Chowchilla. I mean, all these teams are very capable of making noise in the next month.
Yeah, Dos Palos has won 17 in a row, and they beat Clovis North. They beat a few Division I teams. I got them at number 1 right now. Selma, another team that had some big wins, but boy, I just look at the defending champs, Mission Oaks and Wasco. That Division 4 is going to be fun. Those top 4 teams, along with Exeter, is going to be fun.
Well, just look at it this way. Dos Palos in league, 47-3 scoring margin. Overall, 176-26. Wasco in league, 80-8 scoring margin. And then on like 210-58. I mean, those are just two very powerful teams that are showing you one thing: aces in the circle.
That's right. It's all about pitching in softball. I mean, I've seen it where some girls can't even see it. And you get some of those small schools in there, and you get someone throwing heat like in Dos Palos, and forget it.
Yeah, and Samantha Martinez over Wasco. I mean, she's something else.
Well, and it's why it's fun kind of in these smaller divisions. I know we like to talk about Division I and who wins. As you call it, the Valley Championship versus the rest are just section championships. That's sort of your nomenclature, Nick. But the lower divisions are a lot of fun because these teams dominate in their areas and they don't go outside their areas very much. And so once you get into those semifinals and finals, the rubber's really hitting the road, and you kind of do get to see, who really is the big dog.
No question. And that's what, all these girls kind of know each other. They all play summer ball together, but then they come at Bulldog Stadium, and it's just fun to watch. I'm just ashamed I got to go watch either baseball or softball this year because I want to watch both.
Yeah, and that's going to be the tough thing. And we've, of course, conference baseball tournaments in college are that weekend as well, and it just it makes for a busy couple of weekends in the sports world. But that's what we live for, isn't it?
Well, and it's much like wrestling and basketball, where you've never been to a basketball section championship at Selland Arena since you've been here, and you're going up to your 10th
10
year.
years, yeah.
And then, unless we don't have a team like we did last year play late on Saturday, I've never seen the wrestling. I happened to see the wrestling finals last season, but that's not the norm.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of the beast, but that's why we love it. Speaking of things we love, Nick, high school football just around the corner. We got just a couple of minutes. Give us a couple of nuggets of information that you're always peeling out that are be important to the high school football season.
Well, I think the big one around here is Adrian Martinez. Mm-hmm. I just don't think he's going to be playing football at all. I still got Clovis West in the top 5 to start the year, but boy, that's a huge blow. He was my player of the year, and he's not going to play. Wow. I got Bakersfield 1, Central 2, Liberty 3, Clovis West 4, and Edison 5 are my top 5 to start the year. I'm getting ready. I'm starting to do more and more. I'll go out and watch some spring ball and get fired up for football.
We start to figure out how teams actually look. We'll get into some passing league here in about a month. The passing league starts warming up, a little more than a month. So,
hey, Nick, before we let you go, we talked about it a bit last week, and the new CIF, the new state sanctions for transfers and eligibility and athletically motivated moves. Obviously, the two big districts in the Central Section, Clovis Unified and Kern High School District, will still impose their own kind of legislature on how they deal with transfers. But when you look at the state as a whole, have you really kind of taken a look and a stance in your own on how you feel about how this is all going to shake down now that kids can move from school to school as long as they're not being recruited or falling?
I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's blown out of more of a proportion than people think. Less than 2% people that transfer out. And I think the CIF is finally saying, you know what, you don't have to lie anymore. We realize that 99% of it is if you want to play a sport at another school, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to go to that school because they have a better science program that maybe I want to look at. No, you're going there because maybe they have a better football coach, and maybe they have a better program for you to go get a scholarship, whatever the case may be. But it's still, and I get all these emails. Well, does that mean like 55 people are going to transfer to Clovis West? That's not right. No, it's not going to happen because the school still has to approve it. They'll either sit 30 days or they'll still sit a year. It just means you don't have to lie anymore to go to that school.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
I want to calm down, people. It's not a big deal.
It sounds a lot worse than it is, I think. It sounds like they're going to do what? They're going to let them just go willy-nilly? And frankly, they've had trouble sort of policing it and stopping it in the few cases when it does happen anyway. So this is just kind of cleans up all the gray area and says, you know what, if you're going to do it, do it. But you have to get the school's approval, and you have to go from that. So,
yeah, if Trevor wanted to go to a school because they got a great band, no problem. Trevor, you go. You want to transfer over there? No one even cares. But if my kid has a chance to get a scholarship in sports, it's always been what? Oh, that's not right. But now, what's wrong with getting a scholarship in sports? If you can't get it in the educational world, try to him or her get it in sports. I think it's a great deal.
That's just our competitive instinct coming out. That's
Nick,
all
did you have to transfer for a wood shop in high school? Did you have to transfer high school to get to the right wood shop?
Well, heck yeah, that one school I went to had the best wood shop ever. I can make my great tables now. So
the only thing is, Nick, you hit a soft spot with Trevor calling him a band geek. So we know you hit close to home with that one.
I've never been able to play an instrument, and it was one of my dad. My dad played banjo. He was in a barbershop quartet when he grew up in Delray, and it was one of those things where every year he'd blow out his candles. I was like, Dad, did your wish come true? He goes, No, you guys still can't hold a tune.
Yeah,
so it was just one of those things that was a running joke in our family.
I played the killer kazoo when I was little. My dad wanted me to be a saxophone, but I just sat in the corner. What do you want me to do with that? It's not going to happen.
Oh, I tried the clarinet. It sat in there and just
I was a boss on the recorder in third grade. Let me tell you.
I think everybody was.
Yeah.
Oh,
all you had to do was
I could play the TV.
And then you pass.
That was awesome. Well, Nick, speaking of awesome, we really appreciate your insight and everything that you bring to our show and just to the high school sports in the Valley in general.
Well, same with you guys. You're everything to us. We all want to know what Zach and Trevor are thinking down in Bakersfield. So I think we work well together. Let's keep up the good work, and I can't wait for the playoffs.
Sounds good, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
All right. We will be back on BVarsity Live to wrap things up. We're also going to show you that much anticipated Ryan Crowley Marshall Falk video after this as well. Be right back.